All right, this came up this week in the Monday press conference, and a question someone asking if you could triple team, I think the question became about Kirby took it as, could you triple team Brock Bowers? And let me read the real quote here. He says, if you think somebody is triple covering somebody, please send me the video of it so I can see it, because that means we got somebody else wide open. Now, he may have a throw in that the vicinity of somebody and they broke into it, and there's no football player known to man that's going to draw triple coverage. That's not going to happen because there's too many good players around him, especially at the level we're at. It's hard to answer that because I don't think I've ever heard of it. But I don't think we can force. This is the point. I don't think we can force the ball to Brock. We have to have touches for Brock. And if you go back and chart our games, there's when he touches the ball, usually good things happen. And you got that right. He said also what Brock does a really good job of is when he doesn't get the ball, go look at the Kenny McIntosh run. Go look at the frog play where we ran Darnell and Brock on the perimeter for Kenny to set up a score. There's a lot of weapons. There's a lot of weapons that Brock has, and because Brock and Darnell are really good at the point of attack blockers, it makes him really good in the play action as well. So Kirby kind of having fun at the expense of someone asking a question about triple team. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not going to make fun of someone asking a question because I have to tell you, sometimes questions don't come out right. But anyway, the what I would say is, I have not seen it, but I'll tell you right now, they are definitely double teaming him. I mean, there are times when they will have someone right on Brock, and then someone's bracketed or they're over the top or whatever. I mean, you can see that um, when you go back and watch Georgia play. The fascinating part, though, is although they would never do it, even doubling somebody is problematic for a defense because you can do that, no doubt about it. But somebody with one problem is that there's a lot you can do with Brock Bowers. So, cause he's a tight end, he can move around. He's not an offensive lineman. Doesn't have to be stable. He can move around and flex. He can tell you if those guys are in zone or if they're in man. Um, and because you can move him so much, and because you can hide what you're doing offensively as it relates to run or a pass, Brock Bowers becomes a real problem. A real problem. And honestly, it's not just Brock because you can't talk about, I don't think you can talk about Brock Bowers without talking about Darnell, who has played outstanding this season. Darnell Washington has had a hell of a year. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION today. And listen, we're giving away free t-shirts, but you got to buy the book, and then you got to email me almost immediately. The book's cover is going to change in the very near future because of something we're doing with my friend Jeff Foxworthy. But anyway, get the book today. It's a great gift for birthdays, and the holidays are coming up. I want to take you to, and football is not basketball, but I know basketball far better than I know football. And so the basics of it are somewhat similar in that there are only so many people playing, and there are types of defenses that you can play. In the basic basketball coverage in college basketball, you're playing man to man, and you see this if you're watching the NBA. For years, you were required in the NBA to play man. It creates more points, etc. In college basketball, the only thing that you're restricted on off in terms of defense is you can't foul. So when you would have a real problematic person, there can be rules that you have in place where even though you're in man, you can double people. Actually, that's a great way to do it. And then, of course, you have sets like, box and one, which hardly no one ever plays because it's crazy. And then you have triangle and two, which is, I mean, I don't know. And of course, there are also zones. You can play matchup zone. You can do this, that, and the other. There is an image from the other day, and I'm going to try to get it on the screen for you, where it appears that Brock Bowers has three people covering him. And all that's going on that play is that the ball is getting tipped, and there's, I mean, I wouldn't say it's an optical illusion, although that might be the exact word for it. Um, it appears that Brock has three people around him. And honestly, if you're playing defense the right way and you're running towards the ball, it would look like, you possibly could have three people in the vicinity of a particular player. Um, Here is an image of Brock from. Why can't I get it on the screen? Hello. Oh, it's not going to show up. Here is an image of Brock from Saturday with just. I apologize doing it this way, of just him and the Auburn player. That would appear that he was in man coverage, but I don't know that just from one photograph. But um, here's where you could get confused as to if there are more than two guys covering a particular player, because you see three guys in one frame and two are right on top of him. On this particular play, I'm going to try to go to the photos as fast as I can so y'all can see it on the screen. On this particular play, what happened was that uh, I can see this on the field very well. Look at this guy right here. Just this is why people get confused or ask the question. Right here, that's four people on top of the guy. Four. And now that's after he caught and ran, because you can see Stetson in the background. You can't see my mouse, but you can see Stetson in the background. And he was dragging folks with him, and he eventually went down. But this is the play, right? Where did it go? This is the play. Well, this is the play right here where it appeared that now those two guys appear like they're right on top of Brock. But what happened here is I can watch Stetson's eyes in the photograph and while I'm photographing because of the imagery that we've got, and I could tell he was throwing the ball to someone that was coming across, and that someone was Brock Bowers. They essentially had someone above and below Brock. I do not know if they were in man or not. It seems like they were in. That would seem to indicate to me that they're in zone. I do not know what they were in. Brock just missed catching this ball. It got tipped in the air. The Auburn kid is trying to catch it to make an interception, but as it turns out, that was kind of asking too much of everybody on that play. If Brock didn't catch it, the ball I feel like got tipped. But when you see images, which are not the same as video, it can trick you and wonder. But Kirby's point is, if you were running um, a box and two or something like that, and not a box and two, a triangle and two in basketball, or a box and one, guys are going to be open, because if you see, just as an example, when people they start covering Steph Curry, they start covering Steph Curry if they can at half court. And there are times when you're trying to run guys off the baseline where you're trying to screen guys, and they are only consumed with the player that is really hot. And in that case, Brock Bowers is that person. But the other problem is that if you're triple teaming, which does not happen, if you're triple teaming, if you're let's just say you're doubling Brock, okay, that only leaves 9 defenders. They have to account for everyone else on the field. And the other problem is, this is more specifically the problem when you're in man on defense in football. If the quarterback starts running, you're in serious trouble. Now, I do not know if if Auburn was in man when Stetson took off for the 80-yard run or whatever it was. But my suspicion is they probably were, because if you're in zone, you can see it and you're reacting very quickly. If you're in man and you're a defender playing in the secondary, it's much harder, because your guy could be running, deep, and you're not going to turn around to see if someone's running if you're covering someone, because they're going to run right past you. So Brock Bowers is a real problem, and that he is Georgia's best offensive player does not mean there aren't other guys that can really damage you. Um, if you are let's just say, just as one last example, when you're doubling Bowers, there's so much you can do with him. You can, if you're doubling him, you can get him all the way out wide and then run the ball. And then run the ball. You would then have a numbers advantage. In theory, you would have a numbers advantage because two people are so consumed with Brock Bowers, and you're also going to have other receivers too. There are so many schematic things that you can do, and that's why you're seeing Georgia run up 500-yard games. They have players that are a real problem. Tennessee is scoring because their quarterback is really good and he can run, and they have very good receivers and skill players. That's why they're a problem. That's why this year you're seeing Alabama. They're not exploding like they did a season ago. They don't have the receivers they did a year ago. It's always about the players. It has always been about the players. It will always be about the players because as good a recruiter as the guy is that signed Brock Bowers, Todd Hartley is not scaring anybody from the booth. He's not. He definitely, I mean, Will Muschamp, Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo, Todd Hartley, Dell McGee, Brian McClendon, none of them are scaring people when they're lining up because they're 40-year-old men. Brock Bowers is the problem. It's coaches simply acquire talent and develop it. And uh, Brock is a problem because he's a problem. And if you are so focused on him, then you're going to have a real issue with the other 10 guys on the field. And then if you just have Brock in man, like we saw the other day, you better hope to God that he's not running wide open and Stetson hits him. Stetson didn't hit him the other day. They're not going to miss out on those forever. They're not going to miss out on those forever. Remember what Brock did against Alabama, not just in the championship game. Remember what he did against Georgia Tech. Not just, oh man, the guy killed Michigan. He killed them. And there are so many playmakers. That's why it is weird to see them struggle at Missouri. But they won the game.